We are finally concluding our series with a bang. Everything that is left will be done. Melee, blocking, charging, comboing, jumping, leaning. Your eyes are not deceiving you. This episode is almost 34 minutes long, but that's because I didn't want to split the finale into 2 episodes. So strap in, download the files in the description, place them in your models folder and check for a pinned comment. Of course we're starting with the melee system. So go ahead and add a new group called melee_1H. Then add a new hole type called melee_1H. The citizen has a different way to do one-handed versus two-handed melee, but I figure we could branch off from the whole being able to use this with a citizen controller. Since we're handling weapons different, let's start by adding the animations on top of the movement. Create an add node and connect it to the group's input and output. Now for the animations. In Modeldoc, add the melee one-handed animations. That's right, all of them, and add an anim subtract. All of them are going to target the idol. Copy and paste this anim subtract to the rest of them. In Animgraph, create a state machine and call this attack machine. In it, an idol starting state and an attack state. To go into attack, we'll use the attack parameter, and to go into idle, use a finished condition. These don't need any blending, so set both blend time to 0. Add the new melee 1H animation and plug it into the attack state, and a single frame of the same animation for the idle pose. There, before we try, bone merge the mace model I've included so it looks better. Now if we preview, looks fine and dandy. Alright, we mask out the arm sway, and what's with the weird head tilt? Well, let's quickly add our torso bone mask. There, you know, I kinda do want a little arm sway. We couldn't have it with the rifle aiming obviously, but I bet it will look good with the melee weapons. In Modeldoc, copy and paste our torso weight list and lower the influences of everything except the head to 0.75. Bro tip, you can right click them to type the specific amount. Hey, why even include the head? It does have some nice head bobbing that gets masked out. This is related to the head tilt we saw earlier, and this is how we fixed it. If you want to know why, just read this cut part of the script. There we go. But as expected of masking out the head, it now points where the body does. Let's fix it like we did with the rifle, by adding a Lookat. Copy the weak Lookat from the rifle group and put it after everything. But wait, a Lookat this late into the group? Won't that freak out during the attack animations like it kept doing with the rifle reload? Actually, since these Lookats use the head instead of the gun attachment, and the head already points forward in the attack animations, it won't see a need to correct it. Okay, moving on. We see the legs snapping. Easy fix, just copy the leg stance mask and the 1D blend that gradually blends it in. There we go. The head looks at our target, but when we swing, we are not hitting what we're looking at. I'd like to keep the weak Lookat. How about we dynamically switch to a stronger Lookat while attacking? Kinda like we did with the gun lowering. There, we switched between a Lookat that used the gun forward to one that uses the eyes. Huh. I guess I didn't fix this in that episode. Let's change around the transition curves. Is in here, is out there, looks better. Do the same for all the other ranged groups. Now copy the strong Lookat from the rifle group and let's use a state machine to switch between the two. We'll call this Lookat switch. Create an idle and attack states. For the condition, we'll need a way to know how long the attack lasts. This calls for another tag. Create an attacking tag and add it to the attacking state. Now we can use this tag as a condition in the Lookat state machine. Goes into attack when the tag is on, goes into idle when the tag is off. Oh, and disable reset destination for this too. Let's try and... Right, the strong Lookat uses the gun forward attachment. Change it to the eyes instead. Better. Although the blending is very awkward. Let's do like we did earlier and change the transition curves. Instead of ease in and out for both transition, let's do ease in for entering and ease out for exiting. Looks better. It still waits for the attack, but we'll fix that later. Okay, what the hell. Seems the spring is freaking out when we switch to the strong attack. I guess because it freezes when switched out. Just use no damping for the strong Lookat. We don't need it here. Again, our character, lacking a spine, does some extreme gymnastic to hit straight up or down. If you don't want that to happen, you can lower the pitch limit in the strong Lookat and it can't attack straight up or down. Duplicate it and use a new head only Lookat so that the head is corrected. Okay, this attack looks too light for that giant hammer it's holding. We do have another animation for a heavy attack. But why only have 2 weights when you could have tens of them? So add a new 2D blend node. 1D blend kinda sucks, so we use this. Of course we'll need a new float parameter, called this weight, and the minimum won't be 0, but 0.1. How cool that weapon weighed nothing after all, and the default set to 0.5. Now use weight for both parameters of the 2D blend. We'll only need one value, but we can't exactly leave the other empty. Get into the 2D blend and add the melee animation, and then the melee heavy animation. Set both values for the light to 0.1 and for the heavy to 1. Plug it all in and... alright, it loops. Disable that. Heavy attacks. Also medium, light and whatever blend. Although it's kinda weird how the weight can change mid animation, you can prevent it by checking this box, lock blend on reset, which means the value of the blend won't change until the next time it gets reset. We also have left-sided animations, if you're into that, so duplicate the 2D blend and substitute the animations in it with the left versions. We also need a new state in the state machine. Just copy the attack state, call this new state left attack. Also copy the transitions and conditions, but instead of attack, we'll use a new boolean called b_secondary, make it auto reset too. You can use this for any secondary action for a weapon or whatever, so use this instead of the attack parameter for the left. Now we can attack either from the right or the left. We also have combo animations, attacks that loop infinitely. I'll quickly do it just to show you. Normally when you attack, you are locked into a settle animation, but with combo you can chain left and right attacks through a follow-up animation. We'll need to dynamically switch between single attacks and combo attacks. If we assign tags to the animations, we might get to know when the wind-up is over for our light attacks and heavy attacks, but what about anything in between? Unfortunately, tags are not blended, so the only way to know for sure when the wind-up is over is to separate the animation into 3: wind-up, swing and settle. This way we can use a finish condition to know when the wind-up of any given blend is over. I will disable the anim subtracts so you can get a better look. I won't waste your time by pretending I'm finding the values in real time. I have all of them written down. Let's start. Move melee 1/8, combo heavy, 1/8 heavy, left and left heavy into another attack group, and let's order them properly, because it's gonna get messy real quick. Now copy and paste your regular attack until you have 3. Call them wind up, swing and settle. Wind up lasts until frame 8, then frame 8 through 14 is the swing, and 14 through 28 is the settle. This is the same for the left light attack, so do that as well. For the heavy attacks instead, we have a noticeably longer wind up and settle, as the wind up lasts until frame 16. The swing is 16 through 24, only slightly longer than for the light attack, and for the settle 24 through 46. As always, this is the same for the left heavy attack, so do that. Now for the combo, we already have the swing, so all we need is the follow-up animations. Copy and paste the light combo, name the first follow-up and the second left follow-up. The animation starts with the swing, so the follow-up starts on frame 6 up to 16. Again, the next 6 frames are the left swing, so frame 22 to 32 is the left follow-up. Now for the heavy combo, duplicate it, call one follow-up heavy and the next left follow-up heavy. Oh, what a name! First 8 frames are the swing, so frame 8 to 24 for the follow-up, 8 frames for the left swing, and so for the left heavy follow-up it's frame 32 to 48. Jesus, look at all of the animations. Alright, re-enable the anim subtract for all of them. Now we need to replace the animations in the 2D blend. First wind up and wind up heavy, call this wind up blend, copy and paste it 2 times, call the next swing blend and the last settle blend. In the swing blend we'll assign the swing and swing heavy animations, and the settle animations for the settle blend. We'll need 2 more states in the attack machine, swing and settle, but also rename the old attack states to wind up. Connect these in order and copy the finish condition onto all of them. Oh, and delete the one from wind up to idle. Lastly, we'll create a new tag. This time it's gonna be an event tag instead of internal, as this is something we want to signal to the programmer because we are making damage frames, the part of the animation that deals the damage. Assign this new tag to the swing state and also to it the attacking tag, which, as you remember, is used in the Lookat switcher, and the way we fix it taking too long to switch out is by not having the tag during the settle. Let's quickly do the left attack as well. Copy the 2D blends, add left to the names, change the animations to their left counterparts, copy and paste the states and transitions too, plug them up. Let's try. What the? Oh right, the single frame, we have to change that too. Use the first frame of the windup. Something's wrong, I can feel it. What the? Why is the blend time back to 0.2 seconds? When did that happen? Quickly set it to 0 instead. Okay, everything worked fine, but the Lookat is switching off too fast. Luckily we know that the shortest settle time is about 0.6 seconds, so set that as the blend duration of the attack to idle transition of the Lookat switcher. Nice. Now to do the combo. We have follow-up animations that are supposed to chain one swing to the other, so create a new state called Followup and use it to go from right swing to the left swing, foregoing the settle. And since we're continuing our attack, also add the attacking tag to it, copy and paste it for the left follow-up, going left swing to right, again copy the transitions. Obviously we can't have two transitions with the same condition, or it's always going to go into settle, so let's create a new tag to distinguish them called combo. Add this tag condition to the swing to follow-up transitions, and of course it's still never going to combo, as it checks for the settle one first. Change the transition order so it checks for the follow-ups first. Copy the 2D blends, call this follow-up and left follow-up, set their animations, and let's write about these combo tags. When do these activate? These are internal, so the combo system will be completely animation based, and I don't really wanna try adding more states to this huge state machine. So it's better we do a separate machine to handle the combo, so create one in front of the attack machine called combo machine. In it, an idle and a combo queue state. This is the state that, while current, activates the combo tag, so assign it to it. We want the player to be able to queue up a combo by attacking when they are already attacking, but of course not after it reaches the set animation, since then it will be too late already. Luckily we have an attacking tag for that. Add to the transition into combo queue the attacking tag condition and the attack parameter condition, meaning that it queues up a combo if the player presses left mouse while he's already attacking, like if they double click. Now to idle, the player spends the combo when the swing ends to start the follow-up. We need a new tag for when that happens, create one called attack end, then use it for the transition of combo queue into idle. Oh, and also disable reset destination for both and do blend duration 0. Go back in the attack state machine and select the swing state, add the attack end tag here and set it to on exiting. This way it will fire off the tag when it leaves the state, resetting the combo machine. Do the same for the left swing. Lastly, connect the attack machine to both inputs of the combo machine, and now if we attack twice, a combo is queued and spent, or if we keep attacking, we get to swing forever. Wow, how about something fun now? Let's add an attack speed modifier, create a speed scale node and place it after the combo machine, create a new float parameter called attack speed that goes from 0 to 2, with the default value being 1, and use that float for the speed scale node. You can now slow down or speed up attacks. This node also slows down things such as blend times. It's very powerful but a little situational. Unfortunately with this setup I can't include the Lookat switcher in the speed scale, as that connects to the rest of the Animgraph, and you don't wanna do that, or do you? Moving on, you know what players like? Big attacks. This calls for a way to charge and hold attacks. To do that at first, I just told the programmers to slow the attack speed gradually until it hit 0 right before the swing, but apparently that really pissed them off because they had to guess the wind-up time of a weapon, so I came up with this instead. Create a cycle control node and put it after the wind-up. If you remember, this node needs a float that goes from 0 to 1, so create one named Charge Cycle and use this for the cycle control. If we try, we see we can manually play the wind-up, so the programmer can easily slow down the wind-up until right before the swing, although the animation will never finish as we are only changing the pause, so we need a way to stop holding the charge. Create a new boolean called charge and a new state machine. In it, regular are the start and charge. Connect the two and use the new charge boolean as a parameter condition for both, into charge when it's on and out when it's off. Blend time 0 and don't need to reset, right? Actually we do want to reset when we go from charge to regular. As we said earlier, non-looping animations won't play if they are not reset first, but we also want it to pick up from where the cycle controller left off. Luckily we do have the option to change where an animation starts when reset. Here in Start Cycle, if we select SameCycleAs, then it will start the animation at the same point the cycle controller was when it switched out. Connect it all up and let's try. If the player is charging but let's go, it turns into a regular attack, or not. Where is it stuck now? Right, the animation is behind a state machine now. We need an end state in the charge machine. That will be the regular state. Paradoxically, the start state is now also the end state. I kinda misspoke last episode when I said that end states send a finished signal when they are reached. What it really does is relay the cycle of the animation to the state machine in front, which is why it also works with an almost finished tag, and why it waits until the windup is over despite being in the end state the entire time. Right, let's copy all of this for the left side too. Another feature of charging attacks is the hand starting to shake if you hold on for too long. That should be easy enough. In Modeldoc, add the hold sway animation and give it a linear delta. Add the animation in Animgraph and set it to loop. Create a state machine after the cycle control, idle and hold sway as the state. Connect the two. We'll use a cycle condition, which uses the animation's cycle. Idle to sway will be if the cycle is at 1, copy this for sway to idle, and change if the cycle is not at 1, that's the exclamation point equal. The blend time for this will be 0 and won't reset, but the blend time for idle to sway will be 5 whole seconds. That's right, we are outsourcing the blend to the state machine, so we don't have to make a stinking 1D blend, we're just going to need a gradual blend, so change the curve from easy in and out to linear, then create an add node, connect the cycle control to idle, connect this to the hold sway state, the base is the cycle control and the child is the hold sway delta, then let's try. What the? There's a loop somewhere. Oh, I see. It's checking the timing of the second child, which means it's using the cycle of the additive instead of the base. Change it to child 1. Slowly. There we go. And if you let go of the charge, BOOM! Copy all of this to the left side as well. We're just about done with the attacking part of the melee weapons, but we're still missing something. Literally, we're not hitting anything. Let's add some nice and dramatic hit animations, starting by creating a new state machine called hit machine. In it, idle and hit. We need a new boolean for this, b_hit. Make it auto reset and use it for the transition from idle to hit. Also add a tag condition. This must happen during the damage frames. Let's make the blend time really low so it's very snappy, something like 0.05. Also use the ease in curve so it starts fast and eases in. Hit to idle can just be a finish condition with a 0 blend time. Add in the hit animation and use that for the hit state and the attack machine to idle. Start the preview and hit. God damn it. It's the Lookats correcting the head again. Whatever, just go copy the disable Lookat state machine, paste it here in the end, connect it all up. Also the disabled blend time should be instant, so 0. And add the disable Lookat tag to the hit state. Start the preview and hit. How dramatic. However, the hit animation starts with the weapon in the middle. If the hit happens before then, it snaps forward, but we want the weapon to stop when it hits something. Let's try starting the animation a little later. In the start cycle, change to fixed value and type in 0.1. Well, now we have the opposite problem. If we start late, the weapon has to travel so far it does a bad blend. For that, we have another niche start cycle option, InverseSourceCycle, which will start at the opposite cycle of the source. We can use this so, if it hits earlier, the bounce will start late and be shorter, and if it hits later, the bounce will start earlier and thus be longer. Alright, he's done for like the last 2 seconds of the animation. We only want the part where the weapon bounces off. Let's separate the animation in 2 in Modeldoc. The first will only last to frame 3, and the second will start from frame 3 and it's called recoil. Now in Animgraph, let's add a new recoil state, connect it to the new recoil animation and copy the finish condition to go into hit, to recoil, to idle. Now if we try, perfect. Let's do the left one now. Copy the states and add the left to the names, cut up the animation in Modeldoc into hit and recoil, add them in, plug them in, and to know when to do a left hit, create a new tag called attack left. Use this tag as a condition for the left hit, remember to change the transition order so it checks these first, and got the attack left tag to the left windup and swing. And I guess right follow up too, since it's kinda another left windup. Chef's kiss! The natural conclusion of the melee weapon is blocking, but our character isn't really in any danger at the moment, so before doing that, let's make some nice hurt animations. We do have a node for that, procedural hit reactions. The way it works is it rotates bones based on a few parameters you give it, and by a few I mean a small army, and the results aren't even all that impressive, which is why I chose a different route. In Modeldoc, add all of the hurt animations. That's right, we have an animation for every direction. We'll also subtract them, and I hope by now you figure that we're going to be using Modeldspace subtract for all of them, targeting themselves of course, and group them in a group while we're at it. Now in Animgraph, let's create a new group called Flinching. Inside we're adding a state machine, the hurt machine, and it's here to bring the pain. 2 states, idle and hurt, and then a new boolean called hurt. Auto reset, and use that for idle to hurt, 0 blend time, then hurt to idle, use a finish condition, 0 blend time, do not reset, and of course, idle is always evaluate. I want to be able to spam hurt if you're getting shot up by a machine gun. Now create an add node. For the base, we use the group input, meaning we'll also disable reset base child, connect the add to the hurt state, and idle to the group input. For the additive child, we'll create a new 2D blend for all of the hurt animations. Let's get into it and mass add all of them. They are cardinal directions, so let's add a new float that goes from 0 to 360 called hurt direction. Use that for both of our 2D blend axes and fill out the values. I'm not gonna bore you, so here is the list, you can just copy from those. And lastly, add hurt north again to cap it off with 360. It kinda needs that max value. Let's try and... Alright, disable the loop for the 2D blend. And I forgot to check the Modeldspace additive box. Ah yeah, look at him, punch, hurt. Oh, I can change direction during the animation. That's pretty cool, but not really intentional. Again, we can prevent it with the lock state or reset checkbox, which means it won't change value until it resets. Alright, he's getting pelted. Let's turn the intensity down with a new blend. For the parameter, we'll create a new float called hurt damage that goes from 0 to 100 and use that. Again, for an intensity blend, we're blending between the animation and nothing. And of course, to make a good blend, we need to make that nothing last the same, remember? So in Modeldoc, let's just copy and paste the idle delta, rename it to hurt delta and clamp it to the first frame, which is nothing, then hold it for 14 frames, which is how long the hurt animation lasts. Now in Animgraph, add that hurt delta, create 2 inputs in the 1D blend. The first is 0, will be the hurt delta, and the other is 100, will be our 2D blend. Connect it all up and... I mean, it works, but I wish the low value flinches were faster. The big ones can stay as is. Well, we know that with the sync cycle, it will speed up or slow down if they don't last the same. I wonder if we can abuse that. Let's make the nothing delta last twice as long, 28 frames. And now, we see that with the smaller values, the animation is sped up. Not sure how that makes sense, but hey, we take the good with the bad. Now that our player is under attack, he needs a way to defend himself. In Modeldoc, we already have a block animation. If we disable the anim subtract, you see that it blocks and unblocks. We don't need that last part, so cut it out. About frame 14, renable the subtract and go to Animgraph, where we'll make a new state machine just behind the speed node called block machine. In it, an idle and a blocking state. Connect the two and we'll need a new boolean called b_block. Use this for the parameter condition idle to blocking. And let's also add a tag condition for not during damage frames, because at this point you've already committed to the attack. For blocking to idle, use the blocking boolean and uncheck the box, add the block animation, connect it up and just as expected. Although if there's something players hate, is pressing a button and having to wait for the animation to finish before the action. That block better be up by the next frame. As animators, we want our cool animations to play out, so to compromise, if you are hit during the animation, it gets skipped. Create a new state called quick block and connect it to block. Copy the idle to block transition but change the blend time to 0 so it's instant. Change the start cycle to a fixed value and 1. so it starts right at the end. Now add a new parameter condition using hurt. And lastly, quick block is an always evaluate. Reorder quick block above the idle and connect the combo machine to it. Now if you get hit during the block animation, it gets skipped. Okay, just like we did with the two-handed rifles, we are now making two-handed melee, but you should know all of this by now, so let's speedrun this section. Copy the melee 1H group and rename it to 2H, make a new hole type called melee 2H, connect this group to the selector's new input, give it the Alt2R2 tag, in Modeldoc import all the two-handed melee animations, group them together and make a new group inside of it called attack 2H. Drag all but the block and hit animations into it, cut the block animation to 12 frames, copy the hit animations, cut to frame 4, then cut the other from frame 4, add recoil to its name, repeat for the left hit, time to do the attack animations, copy the attack 2 times, Windup goes up to frame 12, swing from 12 to 20, settle from 20 to 34. Do the same for the left attack, then copy the combo, rename it to Followup, cut from frame 8 to 20, then the left Followup goes from frame 28 to 40. Now for the heavy attack, copy 2 times, heavy windup goes up to frame 24, heavy swing is 24 through 34, and heavy settle from 34 to 60. Do the same for the left heavy attack, copy heavy combo, rename to Followup, cut from 10 to 34, then left Followup, frame 44 to 68. Now copy the anim subtract from the one-handed melee to all of the two-handed melee animations. Now in the Animgraph group, replace all the animations. If you use a consistent naming scheme, it is as easy as changing 1H to 2H, also the static pose, and now the 2D blends. Okay, speedrun, stop! We need to change these values. Here's the thing. The lightest two-handed weapon is still heavier than the lightest one-handed, and the duration of the animations reflect that. So too should the weight values. Change the light attack from 0.1 to 0.3 for all of the two-handed blends. 0.1 and 2 is the domain of the one-hander. Similarly, the higher weights are reserved to the heaviest two-handers. So go back to the one-handed 2D blends and change the values of the heavy attack from 1 to 0.8. 0.9 and 1 is the domain of the two-handers. Okay, go back and finish replacing the animations in the two-handed 2D blends. Now, before trying, bone merging that beautiful giant hammer model I included. Heavy, light, combo, charge, hit, and yep, block. Honestly, feels like we're done here. Alright, jumping. I really should have done it in the movement episode. Add all of the jump animations, fall, land, light and heavy, and whatever fall arms is. Let's group them into a jump group. Oh wow, what a beautiful jump animation. Unfortunately, we only need the bit where he jumps up, since we have a separate falling and landing animation, so cut up to frame 7, there we go. In Animgraph, go into the movement group and add a new state machine, the jump machine. In it, 4 states, idle, jump, fall and land. Connect them into sequence, idle to jump, to fall, to land, and also connect idle to fall without jumping, like if you walk off of a cliff. New boolean, b_jump, auto resets, use this for the idle to jump, then a finish condition for jump to fall. And now another boolean, b_grounded, for when you're on the ground. Change the default value of this boolean to be on. Now use this parameter as a condition for fall to land, so if you're falling and then you get grounded. Also use this for idle to fall, but uncheck the box, so you start falling when you're no longer grounded. Now for our falling state, there are cases where you try to jump but you remain grounded. You've seen it. Think Garry's Mod when you have a prop over your head and you do that little hop. In case of a failed jump, we don't even want to go through the falling state, but instead skip directly to land. We can do that by marking falling as a pass-through state. This makes it so that when it's about to enter, if it already clears one of its switch condition, it will skip the state, it literally passes through. Also, it's going to be snappy, so we use a shorter blend time of 0.1 and the sudden ease in curve. Connect the animations to the states. Let's try the jump by disabling the idle to fall transition. Try and cool. It goes into fall too fast. Let's double to 0.4 seconds blend time. Also, it needs to be a gradual blend. No curve is going to help with that, so a straight line will do better. And enable the idle to fall arrow too, lest we forget. There we go. Although that's a pretty strong fall for falling from a height of 0 meters. This calls for an intensity blend. Add a 1D blend and create a new float called airtime that goes from 0 to 5. And use that for our 1D blend. Connect 2 new inputs. the second with a value of 5, connect the heavy land to this and add the light land animation and connect it to the first. Great! Although there's one last thing that a human does when falling, let's add raising arms. Create an add node and connect it to the fall state and use the falling animation as the base. Now in Modeldoc we'll add the anim subtract to the fall arms animation, targeting itself. I tried using linear delta, but for some reason that doesn't seem to work. Sometimes it does that and I don't know why. Add a falling arms delta and slow down the playback speed to 0.3. Plug it into the add node and finally, jumping. Last stretch, come on. I've come to really like lean animations from that one time I showed them, so let's add that. In Modeldoc, bring in the lean animation, leans from left to right as you can see, frame 6 being the middle. So add a Modelspace anim subtract, select itself and use frame 6 as it is the neutral pose. Now in Animgraph, ideally we'd place this as late as possible, but that will mess with the aiming a little, so let's put it right before any Lookat. Starting with the non-group, create the add node, the base will be the movement group, and connect it to the weak Lookat, disable reset base child and add our lean clip. To control it, we'll add a cycle control node and connect it all up. Create a new float called lean that goes from 0 to 1, as that's the cycle of an animation, with the default being 0.5, the middle of our lean, and now use this float for the cycle control. Looks great. That was pretty quick too. But now we have to copy and paste this for all of the others. We could group them, but what if we did a mistake and wanted to update it? We'd have to manually do it for all of the instances across the Animgraph. I pose another question. What if we wanted to share this group with other Animgraphs? That's where subgraphs come in. Similarly to groups, you can select nodes and right click to create one. But unlike groups, these are stored as a file. Call this lean. Now you can enter it, and again like groups, you can create inputs and outputs to connect them from the outside. Let's inject lean onto all of the other groups, put it just before the Lookats, this way it doesn't mess with the aiming of the target. Now you can pick behind the corners or lean on curves. Oh, I see, it flashes for a frame the start of the lean animation. We should probably use a 1D blend with 3 single frames of the animation instead of a cycle control. Goes from -1 to 1, 0 being the default. Set that for the lean float too. There. Oh, and best of all instances of the lean subgraphs have been updated. Modeldoc also has a similar feature. There they are called Prefabs. The citizen is made up of prefabs, so you can easily use parts of it on your games and they get updated automatically whenever it receives an update. It's how our player model used the animations for in this house. While in our game Death Card, the humanoid animations are a prefab shared by every humanoid enemy, which then gets scaled with the proportion trick, if you remember. I guess that's it, huh? You have officially graduated fish school. If you followed through, you unironically know more than I did when I first started making this guide, and I was confident enough to start this guide. I hope this tutorial serves as a good reference for generations to come. Thank you for watching and... what? Animgraph is getting replaced soon? Oh, for fuck.